Discovery and Awakening. The Europa Research Station shuddered as another icequake rippled through the moon's crust. Dr. Maya Chen barely noticed, her eyes fixed on the anomalous readings that had appeared on her monitor for the third consecutive day. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the scan again. The energy signature remained, pulsing steadily from 8 kilometers beneath Europa's icy surface. Not random, not natural, a perfect geometric pattern that defied explanation. Maya called across the cramped monitoring room. "Dmitri, can you verify these readings?" Dr. Dmitri Volkov abandoned his workstation and peered over her shoulder, his brow furrowing. "That's impossible. The pattern is too regular." "That's what I thought." Maya pulled up the three-dimensional model. "Whatever it is, it's massive. At least 5 kilometers across." Within hours, Maya had transmitted the data to the United Nations Space Coalition headquarters on Earth. By the end of the week, the small Europa station had become the focal point of humanity's greatest discovery and its greatest mystery. The UNSC expedition vessel Prometheus arrived 14 days later, carrying a specialized drilling team and advanced equipment. Director Elizabeth Winters, the mission commander, met with Maya in the station's conference room. "Your discovery has caused quite a stir, Dr. Chen," Winters said, reviewing the updated scans. "Every nation on Earth is demanding access." Maya gestured to the holographic display. "The energy signature is stable, but it's unlike anything in our database. Whatever's down there has been waiting a long time." 3 months of careful drilling later, the expedition broke through to a vast chamber beneath Europa's ice. The camera feed showed what appeared to be an enormous metallic structure, perfectly preserved in the moon's frozen environment. "The surface is composed of an unknown alloy," reported Chief Engineer Hamid Kapur, examining the initial samples. "It doesn't match any element or compound we've cataloged. And despite being buried here for what must be thousands, perhaps millions, of years, there's no deterioration." Maya stood at the edge of the excavation site 2 weeks later, staring down at the exposed section of the massive object. Floodlights illuminated its smooth obsidian surface, which seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Winters nodded beside her. "And it gets more interesting. We've detected an internal atmosphere behind what appears to be an airlock mechanism." The first entry team, led by Maya and Winters, breached the outer hull through what they determined to be an access point. Inside, they found corridors scaled for beings much taller than humans, illuminated by strips of soft blue light that activated as they approached. "The systems are still operational," Hamid marveled, checking his instruments. "And the air, it's breathable." Their exploration led them to a vast circular chamber with a raised platform at its center. Consoles lined the walls, covered in swirling symbols unlike any human language. "This is a bridge," Maya realized, her voice hushed with awe. "We're on a ship." The discovery on Europa was just the beginning. Within months, similar energy signatures were detected on Mars, Venus, Titan, and in the asteroid belt. Each location revealed another vessel of comparable size, all apparently dormant yet intact. The United Earth Coalition formed in response, bringing together the world's governments, scientists, and military forces. For the first time in history, humanity united around a single purpose: understanding the vessels and their creators. Dr. Aidan Yabo, the world's leading xenolinguist, arrived at Europa Station 6 months after the initial discovery. Using a quantum AI system, his team began the painstaking process of deciphering the alien language. "The symbols contain multiple layers of meaning," Aidan explained during a global broadcast. "Each character conveys not just words but concepts, emotions, history, context. It's like they condensed entire libraries into a single writing system." The breakthrough came after 8 months of continuous analysis. Maya was present when Aidan burst into the command center, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. "We've deciphered a significant portion of the primary records," he announced to the assembled team. These vessels belonged to a species that called themselves the Luminary. They were ancient when our ancestors were still climbing trees. Aiden pulled up the translated text on the main display. According to this, the ships form a defense network, a last line of protection against something they called the Void, an entity or force that consumed entire solar systems. Maya felt a chill run through her as Aiden continued. The Luminary fought a losing war for millennia. These ships, there are thousands more scattered throughout the galaxy, were their final creation. When they realized they couldn't win, they hid their vessels on habitable worlds, hoping that whatever species evolved there might one day use them. Use them against what? Winters asked. The Void advances slowly but inexorably. The Luminary calculated that it would reach our part of the galaxy within approximately 10,000 years of their ship's concealment. Aiden's voice dropped. Based on the dating of these vessels, that time is now. The revelation sent shockwaves through human society. Some panicked, others doubted, but most rallied around a newfound purpose. If an ancient, highly advanced civilization had fallen to this threat, what chance did humanity have? Their only hope lay in understanding and mastering the alien technology before the Void arrived. Maya led the team studying the primary systems of the Europa vessel. They discovered that while the ships could be operated by a handful of individuals, they were designed to function as a unified fleet. Each vessel housed specialized systems, propulsion, shielding, weapons unlike anything humans had conceived. They don't just harness energy, Maya explained to the UEC Council. They manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. What we call physics was just the beginning for the Luminary. Exploration of the Mars vessel revealed something equally astonishing: cryogenic chambers containing preserved members of the Luminary species. Tall, graceful beings with luminescent skin and elongated limbs, most had perished over the millennia as their preservation systems slowly failed. But a few hundred remained in stasis, the last survivors of their civilization. Attempts to revive them proved unsuccessful. Their biology was too different, their systems too fragile after thousands of years of dormancy. The Luminary had not survived, but their legacy had. The discovery of the vessels had united humanity as never before, but that unity was fragile. As understanding of the ship's capabilities grew, so did competing interests. Nations that hosted vessels began to claim exclusive rights to their study and potential use. We cannot afford division, Maya argued during an emergency session of the UEC. These ships were designed to work together. The Luminary were clear: the Void can only be fought with a unified response. Her warning seemed prescient when, 18 months after the initial discovery, deep space monitoring stations detected an anomaly at the edge of the solar system. A region of space where stars simply disappeared, their light extinguished as if they had never existed. The Void had arrived. Inheritance and defense. Alarms blared throughout Europa Station as Maya raced toward the command center. The holographic display showed a growing darkness at the outer edge of the solar system, a perfect absence of light and matter. "It's accelerating," reported Commander Winters, her face grim. "At current speed, it will reach Pluto within 72 hours. The 7 vessels discovered throughout the solar system had remained dormant, despite humanity's best efforts to fully activate them. Teams had managed to access basic systems, but the advanced technology that made them such formidable weapons remained locked behind protocols they couldn't decipher. Until now. As the Void approached, the ships began to awaken. On Europa, consoles illuminated with new symbols, and dormant systems hummed to life. Similar reports came from the other vessels: Mars, Venus, Titan, and the asteroid belt. They're responding to the threat, Maya realized. They were programmed to activate when the Void returned. The political situation deteriorated rapidly. The Mars Coalition, formed by the nations with presence on the Red Planet, declared martial law and attempted to seize exclusive control of their vessel. Similar power struggles erupted at the other sites. Maya addressed an emergency session of the UEC, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. The luminary left these ships as a gift and a responsibility. They knew they were dying, but they hoped we would survive where they could not. We don't have time for petty squabbles over ownership. Her impassioned plea, broadcast globally, struck a chord. Public pressure mounted on world governments to cooperate, and slowly a fragile alliance formed. Dr. Raymond Carter, the lead engineer from the Venus expedition, made the critical breakthrough. The ships require a neural interface, he explained during a joint briefing. Not just mechanical operation. They need to bond with their pilots. Maya volunteered immediately. Within hours, she found herself in a chamber deep within the Europa vessel, surrounded by a team of scientists and engineers. A delicate crown of luminescent material hovered above a reclined chair, pulsing with soft blue light. The interface will connect directly with your mind, Raymond warned. Based on the luminary records, it will be disorienting at first, but not painful. Maya took a deep breath and nodded. We don't have a choice. As the neural interface descended onto her head, Maya gasped. Her consciousness expanded, stretching beyond her body to encompass the entirety of the massive ship. She could feel every system, every corridor, every particle of energy flowing through the vessel's veins. And she wasn't alone. The ship held echoes of its former pilots, not memories exactly, but impressions, knowledge embedded in the neural network itself. Through these echoes, Maya understood what had to be done. The ships need to move into formation, she announced, her voice distant as her mind remained partially connected to the vessel. They form a defensive perimeter, each one amplifying the other's capabilities. Similar neural linkages were established on the other ships. Dr. Volkov on Mars, Engineer Kapper on Venus, Professor Nakamura on Titan, and Colonel Rivera in the asteroid belt. Together, they began to move the planet-sized vessels into position, a maneuver that would have been impossible just days earlier. The sight of the massive ships rising from their resting places sent waves of awe and terror through human populations. The Europa vessel emerged from the moon's icy crust in a shower of frozen debris. On Mars, the ship rose from the Valles Marineris, dwarfing the massive canyon. The Venus vessel pushed through the planet's thick atmosphere, while the others broke free from their respective hiding places. As the vessels moved into formation at the edge of the solar system, Maya could sense the void approaching. It wasn't simply darkness. It was anti-existence, a negation of reality itself. It's not a natural phenomenon, she reported, her consciousness still linked to the ship. It's engineered, a weapon or entity created to consume everything in its path. The neural network shared the luminaries' knowledge of their ancient enemy. The void had been unleashed by a civilization so ancient that even the luminary knew them only through legend, a species that had decided if they could not rule the galaxy, nothing would exist within it. As the void reached the edge of the solar system, Maya felt the ship's weapons systems activate. Energy coursed through conduits larger than cities, drawing power directly from the fabric of space-time. All vessels, prepare for engagement, she commanded, her voice echoing through the neural network connecting all 5 pilots. The first contact with the void was catastrophic. The darkness extended tendrils toward the ships, and where they touched, matter simply ceased to exist. The Neptune research station, caught between the approaching void and the defensive line, disappeared in an instant, along with the dwarf planet itself. The luminary vessels responded with weapons that defied human understanding. Beams of coherent reality that pushed back against the nothingness, reinforcing the structure of space-time itself. It's not enough, Kapper reported from the Venus ship. The void is adapting to our attacks. Maya delved deeper into the neural interface, seeking the knowledge the luminary had embedded within their vessels. What she found filled her with both hope and dread. The ships can combine their energy, she told the others, like the luminary did in their final stand. But it will require complete synchronization. The process would be dangerous. The neural interfaces were designed for luminary minds, not human ones. Pushing them beyond their current usage could cause permanent damage to the pilots. "We have no choice," Colonel Rivera said from the asteroid belt vessel. "If we fail, there won't be anything left to save." The 5 pilots synchronized their neural patterns, their consciousness merging through the ship's networks. Maya felt her sense of self begin to dissolve, blending with the others and with the echoes of the luminary themselves. Together, they directed the vessels to form a perfect pentagram, positioning themselves directly in the void's path. Energy began to flow between the ships, building in intensity until reality itself seemed to warp around them. When the void attacked again, the combined vessels released their energy in a single coherent burst. The display was visible from Earth, a blinding flash that momentarily outshone the sun itself. Where the energy struck the void, the darkness recoiled. For the first time, it seemed to hesitate, its advance halted by the unexpected resistance. Again, Maya commanded, though speaking was becoming difficult as her consciousness spread thinner across the neural network. The second burst tore through the void's leading edge, creating a rift in the darkness. The third caused the entity to retreat, pulling back from the solar system's boundary. As the final attack launched, Maya caught glimpses of other stars, other worlds where similar battles were taking place. The other luminary vessels, hidden throughout the galaxy, awakening to defend their adopted civilizations. When it was over, the void had been pushed back beyond the heliosphere. It wasn't destroyed. Nothing could truly destroy such an entity, but it had been wounded, forced to retreat to recover its strength. The neural disconnection was jarring. Maya found herself back in her body, exhausted and changed. The other pilots reported similar experiences. They had touched something beyond human comprehension and returned transformed. The vessels returned to their positions throughout the solar system, no longer hidden but standing as sentinels against future threats. The neural interfaces remained active, waiting for their pilots to return. 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the new Europa Command Center, watching as teams of scientists and engineers worked to understand the vessels that had saved humanity. The knowledge gained from the ships had already accelerated human technology by centuries. Was it worth it? Winters asked, joining her at the viewport. Maya touched her temple, where the neural connection had left a faint luminescent pattern, a physical reminder of her bond with the vessel. Similar marks adorned the other pilots, a sign of their transformation. The luminary knew they were dying, Maya said, but they believed we could survive where they couldn't. They left us their legacy, their knowledge, their hope. Below them, a new generation of pilots began their training, preparing to take up the mantle of the vessel's defenders. The void would return, perhaps in decades, perhaps in centuries, but humanity would be ready. They gave us a chance, Maya continued, looking out at the stars. Now it's up to us to prove we deserved it. Humanity had inherited not just weapons or technology, but a place in a much larger cosmos, and a responsibility to protect it. The age of Earth's isolation was over. They were part of something greater now, guardians of a legacy that stretched back millions of years. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other civilizations were making the same discovery, awakening to the same inheritance and the same duty. They were no longer alone in their fight. The luminary were gone, but their light lived on. He gestured to the woman beside him. This is Dr. Yumi Chen, sister of the late Ambassador Mai Chen. She has agreed to serve as Earth's new representative to the Vriscan hegemony, to help rebuild the relationship between our peoples. The revelation sent another shockwave through the assembly. To send a relative of the murdered diplomat as her replacement was unprecedented. Dr. Chen stepped forward. My sister believed in the promise of the Galactic Conclave, that different species could learn from one another, grow together, and create a more just civilization than any could achieve alone. I can think of no better way to honor her memory than to continue that work, especially with those who once considered us adversaries. As the human delegation withdrew, the Phyrexian eldest conferred quietly with his fellow council members. They continue to surprise us, the Morrigan representative observed. First, their remarkable restraint during the conflict, now this gesture of reconciliation. "I believe we have misunderstood humans from the beginning," the eldest replied thoughtfully. "We categorized them based on their technological development, their military capacity, their territorial expansion, all the traditional metrics by which the conclave has evaluated rising species. And we were wrong," asked the Tellerite. "Not wrong, perhaps, but incomplete." The eldest's ancient eyes followed the departing human delegation. "We failed to measure what truly defines them: their patience, their commitment to principle, and their understanding that the most powerful position is often the one that requires no power to be demonstrated at all." Across the galaxy, on worlds throughout the former Verscan hegemony, monuments were quietly being erected. Not by government decree or diplomatic requirement, but by ordinary citizens who had witnessed something remarkable, a species that could have demanded anything, but asked only for truth. The monuments bore no weapons, no military imagery, no threats or warnings. Each simply displayed the face of Ambassador Mai Chen and a single phrase in both human and Verscan language. "One human is all humans. All humans are one human." The galaxy had learned an important lesson about Earth. Humanity didn't need threats or displays of force to be heard. They didn't need to strike to demonstrate their power. Their silence spoke volumes. Their patience revealed their strength. And in seeking only truth, they had shown what they truly valued. The stars would never look at humans quite the same way again.